All right, welcome to the Chronic Health Collective show where we empower you to transform your life. We've gathered the best coaches and experts to bring you insights that will elevate your physical, mental, and spiritual well being. Whether you're looking to boost your energy, heal relationships, or live a more productive life, we're here to guide you every step of the way. And today I'm welcoming back Sandra Duron, who is a certified functional nutritional therapeutic practitioner, as well as a certified autoimmune protocol practitioner. She specializes in helping people with Hashimoto's thyroiditis navigate a path that's more straightforward and taking the guesswork from them. Overall, she helps them with dietary, lifestyle, and mindset modifications in a bio-individual way and helping them live a life that thought that wasn't possible. So I'd like to welcome again Sandra.
Hi, Dawn. Lovely to see you again.
Hi, Sandra. It's so great to see you. I'm really looking forward to our chat today.
Me too.
Um, I wanted to just, you were here before and you shared like some really great nuggets with us about, your mission, especially helping those with, the Hashimoto's disease. So I'd really like to do a deeper dive into the invisible signs of what we should be looking for that may be a trigger or I guess a trigger or what do you call red flag? Sorry, what would be a red flag to the Hashimoto's disease? So what would that be?
That's a super question for sure, because there's a lot of symptoms that come along the way that really mimic so many other things. And so that can really add a complexity when you're trying to get a diagnosis, because, the fact that somebody might have weight gain, well, that could just be because they're eating too many pizzas or too many pretzels, and brain fog, that can be from a number of things as well. Maybe you didn't sleep well, and so there's all these different facets that really go invisible. And so it's really about going to your physician, getting whatever tests are needed, and pushing for things, because the part about Hashimoto's is that it's the actual autoimmune component of having an underactive thyroid. And so, for instance, I was initially just diagnosed with an underactive thyroid, and I had to keep pushing to get the test to see if I had the autoimmune component, and which I did for sure. And so I think that's a really good question in terms of, the invisible part to people.
So let's talk about process, because you mentioned that you really had to push to get the right test, right? I mean, we go to our physicians, we let them know what the ailments are, but we're not actual medical practitioners. So sometimes we are not able to articulate our condition, and I mean, unless you're folks like us, right, we're curious, so we push more. But what would be your recommendation, or for our audiences, like when should they really start pushing for that additional testing?
Absolutely. Ideally, it should be right when the first test is done, to see if there is a Hashimoto's, or not, sorry, not Hashimoto's, but if there's a thyroid
Yeah.
issue at all, because there's the overactive and underactive. And so it really just helps to know, is it Graves' disease, which is the over, or Hashimoto's, that's the under. And so ideally, in an ideal world, Dawn, that
Mhm.
physicians would just be adding that test on, so that not only could you understand that you have a condition, you can understand the type of condition, and is there the autoimmune component. and
Mhm.
and I think there's a hesitancy perhaps for some physicians to do this, because for them the treatment, or so I've been led to believe, is really no different whether you have the autoimmune component or not. In essence,
Mhm.
take a pill, do this, and away you go. And there's no real treatment, and there's no real anything, unless things get significantly worse.
Mhm. So, the big trend now is holistic health, right? And there are many people that's offering different types of tests like hair testing or doing bioenergetics and stuff like that. Is there anything from your experience on the holistic health side that could help them identify that sooner?
Ah, I'm not certain about the sooner part, but I
Mhm.
think you open up an amazing, treasure chest there of goodies, for sure
Mhm.
you did. Because for instance, when, if somebody is given, a prescription to, to augment their thyroid, there's synthetic ways and there's more natural ways, as
Mhm.
you're now introducing.
Right.
And for absolutely, and for some people, they don't tolerate different types, and so it's important to know that there are a number of different options out there, because the blogs and everything are full of people going, I'm taking this particular prescription. I feel awful. I feel worse. And so again, it's important to have the dialogue out there, because there are a number of natural remedies and even supplements as well, from the perspective that, some people do well if they, augment with, selenium, or different types of amino acids, or
Mhm.
different vitamins. Often there are deficiencies, vitamin or mineral deficiencies, that go along with this. And again, it's bio individual, so it's not saying that, if somebody has this, they have all the things, but
Uh-huh.
it's certainly good to know that there could be other things, and to explore for that.
Yeah, I think, even for me, and I had a, a gist tumor last year, and they had recommended some type of medication for me to take. I decided not to take it, but then there's also additional supplements that they recommended. Would you agree with me that in order for those type of supplements to work, that it would be in everyone's best interest to also work with a specialized dietitian or nutritionist, because there's certain supplements that they, or medications too, right, that you take that could counteract with what we prescribed, as well as knowing what is the best time of day to take it.
Perfectly said, for sure. And that's completely true. And to have somebody by your side who has gone through it, or who at least understands it at a great level, to really help you. Because in my particular case, it was pretty much primarily done on my own, in terms
Mhm.
of realizing I would try this, figure out really quickly, okay, that didn't work.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of trial and error, going in circles, and frustrations as well, because
Mhm.
things evolved over years to actually, get things in a really great place. And so you're absolutely right, Dawn. Like, if you're working with somebody who has a knowledge or background on all the potential things that somebody needs to consider, then it really, it can cut back years of trial and error, and it can just, in a more direct path, take
Mhm.
you to feeling, much better.
Mhm. So I know there's a lot of research that goes into, coming up with remedies for this. Is has like I'm sure you look at it all the time, but is there anything on in the horizon that gives us more hope and how to address this, specific condition?
Well, I love that, and I wish I could say that there was, and
Mhm.
I think that's really where the holistic part that you had brought up, I think that's where that comes in. For instance, does somebody take a homeopathic approach to
Mhm.
this? Does somebody do Reiki? Like, there's a whole bunch of alternative ways they can really help support the body, help
Mhm.
support the thyroid. And so it's not research per se, it's almost going back to roots,
Yeah.
almost. So instead of looking forward, it's almost a looking backward, to say, okay, what exists out there that could really help somebody along.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it really is about opening up your mind to the many different possibilities. And, you know, everyone as a collective needs to chime into that and help us open up our minds of what could be possible, whether it's, you know, from a scientific base or from a holistic base. But
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But I'm really looking forward to deep dive into this a little bit more, especially about, you know, coping mechanisms and mindset. So we have a break coming up in a few seconds. So yeah, do you have anything else that you want to share before we close out this section? This section?
Absolutely. Thank you for sure. And one of the things as well, because you talked about sort of the invisible part of it. And for sure, right? It mimics a lot of other things. But the other part as well is that, sometimes, not only do people not know they have it, but their life is impacted, but other people don't know they have it. So they might be showing up to work and for them, that person, that might be their big accomplishment, that they managed to get out of bed, they managed to get dressed. And
Mhm.
so people might put a label on that and go, oh my goodness, what's with that person? And meanwhile, that person is struggling, to get through their day and to be alert and be productive and interact and do all the things, that they need to be doing.
Mhm.
And so that's the other side of it. And I think that's where communication plays a really important role in terms, if somebody is impacted with their thyroid, and it is to the point where it's impacting their life and how they're able to get through the day, then I think it's really fair just to have a conversation with people and just say, hey, I'm having a flare. First of all, explain what you have, because if you have, I guess if you just walk in and say I'm having a flare, that
Mhm.
might create some confusion, because that's what can happen too. If people push themselves, um, if people push themselves too much, they might be stabilized for a long time.
Mhm.
But then if they push, then they sort of get the reminder that they've gone a little bit too far. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and so there's all these things that they need to navigate. They
Mhm.
have to navigate their own self, but they also have to navigate others around them, and set the expectation, even at home, of
Yeah.
what they can do.
Hmm. I think communication is a really great key. And, you know, I think sometimes we end up suffering in silence because we don't want to burden anyone. But, you know, in order for us to make those positive strides every day, we have to communicate. And it's not just communicating, but communicating to educate those around us who want to provide us with that support. And, you know, we're so involved in our own mess that, you know, sometimes, I mean, I hate to say it, but we get selfish and we forget that there really is people there that truly want to support us. And we have to be okay with allowing them in to be part of that journey, because whether we want to recognize it or not, it is affecting others that surround us as well.
Well, and I love how you position that, because that's so true. It's like, once people know what's going on,
Hmm.
is they do want to help.
Yeah.
And so, they will make the dinner, or they will do the errands, or they'll,
Yeah.
just make your load a little bit lighter. And so I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah. And you know, and sometimes it's good to have that one individual too that just won't let you go down to what I call the valley of despair.
I
Like,
love that.
right? It gives you a little bit of space to feel what you need to feel, but they're going to be like, "No, you're coming back out. Let's go."
I love that. Your own personal cheerleader.
Yeah, yeah, we do need that because, you know, sometimes we just cannot summon up the strength to be that for ourselves. So, you
Yeah,
know, yeah.
absolutely.
Is there anyone that you would like to credit for, you know, being of great support for you?
Oh, my husband,
Oh, great. Oh, yeah.
10,000%
Oh,
in every way possible. I've been very fortunate, and with my family growing up as well.
mm-hmm,
They
mm-hmm.
they were very supportive and everything. And yeah, I know I'm looking forward to us coming back and having having more chat.
Yeah, it's been really great. And then, just to add to that too, it's one of the reasons why we do this podcast, right? Is to share that because there are others that may not have the support system, but their support system is here in what we share in the podcast. So for those of you who are
Yeah.
watching that is, in that situation, you are not alone. And, we're here for you. Please reach out. We're not just, sharing this to get some services or get paid or whatever. We really are passionate about our mission here and helping everyone to, just get to that prosperity of life and just live it and be happy. So thank you, and I look forward to getting to the next session.
That's beautifully put, Dawn. You're right.
Thank
We're here to
you.
support. Thank you.
Thank you.
A
Not sure
life
when this is
empowered
gonna.
is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science, at longevity, at exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Ever feel like you're doing it all, but doing it alone? Running your business, supporting your family, trying to stay grounded while juggling everything. You're not the only one. You deserve a space where you can just exhale. A room where you don't have to prove anything. Because everyone already gets it. Where conversations go beyond small talk. Where stories are shared, not judged. Where new connections feel like old friends. This is that space. This is that room. This is that moment. Come refill your cup. Be seen. Be celebrated. Because when women come together, powerful things happen. Let's grow, rise, and lead together. Join us on May 17th, Women of the World Hawaii pop-up event in Honolulu. Hope to see you.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're having a great time with Sandra today. She's sharing a lot of information with us about autoimmune and Hashimoto's. Um, I ended the section about support, and I'm sure there are people who are going to watch this and they're going to be, I want to help. I want to do what Sandra does. Would you mind sharing with us your educational journey and how you discovered the right resources for you to gain to be able to be in the position you are in now to be, to help others? Like, what was your educational journey to get where you're at today?
I love the question, Dawn, and I certainly didn't start out here. I was in the corporate world. I was in academia, And it was through my own dealing of trying to deal with what I had, and realizing that there are so many other people out there that do struggle on a daily basis. And so it took a very organic way I came about this, in terms of studying functional nutrition, in terms of understanding the energy of the body, anatomy, homeopathy, and learning about supplements, and the impact of on the body, and just autoimmunity itself. So taking a program with Andrea Nakayama as well, and just really understanding what exactly that did mean. What is somebody's body experiencing, and then how to help.
So, I mean, I'm curious because, once you started working with her, like what really lit up for you and the possibilities of how you could help others?
Actually, it's beautiful how you just said that, because you actually just said the answer as well, because it is knowing that there is the possibility to help others. Because people that have that particular diagnosis, it's in essence, you're explained what it is, you're given whatever you need to sort of support your body, and you're sent on your way. And then there are periodic blood tests, but it's really missing the nuances, because for most people, the symptoms stay. Because it's one thing to have blood levels normalized. It's another thing to have achy joints, and the inability to move, or to move pain-free. And so that's a huge difference. And so the fact that I was able to firsthand see that I could accomplish what most medical people were telling me I couldn't accomplish, then that just completely ignited me, because I thought, if I can help anyone stop where they're at, and not only stop where they're at, but to actually reverse it. Because a lot of people think that the days of waking up energetic and pain-free, and getting through the day the same way of being energetic and pain-free, they've lost that. They don't believe that's even out there for them anymore. And I really want people to know that can be your reality. Like, it's possible. So despite whatever you may be told, that's not necessarily the case. And so for me, that was beyond a passion, because again, people don't have to struggle through the day. We normalize it. We just normalize. It's really a common conversation, like, oh, I just took a couple of pills, my head's bothering me, and oh, my back's really acting up, I took some pills, or I'm doing that. We've just normalized it, that pain and discomfort is something that everybody has, and they have it, some people have it daily, and that's not the case.
Right.
You don't have to. Right? You just don't have to.
So, I mean, yeah, acceptance of what you have been diagnosed with, and then accepting it as a new lifestyle, right? But with hope at the other end of the spectrum. So, in your particular case, and I know you mentioned in the last session about how your husband was a great support for you. If we were to flip the switch and it was your husband in the position now of where you have to support him, what would be the first steps of how you help him on his journey?
Absolutely. So it's really about looking at what currently is going on. It really is, because everybody's going to be in different places. And so it's about having a look at diet, because diet plays a huge role in the microbiome, and, and how are people metabolizing things? And, is there leaky gut? And all of these things play a role, especially when you're talking about autoimmunity. And so, so one of the steps would be just to figure out what is going on. What is going on, and picking the low-hanging fruit. So it's not about grabbing at everything simultaneously and hope something sticks. So it's not kind of a free-for-all. It's just about just stepping back, right? Allowing yourself the time and the space to just step back and have a look. What is going on? What are your biggest symptoms? What is impacting you the most? Because it's not about for me to filter. It would be for him or the person with the condition to tell me what is their biggest problem.
And as also, I mean, as for you who had experienced that, I guess too, what would be the one thing you would like to share for those that are supporting you, so that you do have that space that you need to process, to deal with what you're going through, but also be open to having that support system as well, without there being conflict and adding more stress into what you're trying to get through.
Well, and I think it changes. It really does change, because initially when somebody is trying to heal, it's more evident that they may be struggling. Right, because their body hasn't yet healed. Their mindset is still perhaps elsewhere, where they're still used to, having really bad days. And for me, this was a number of years ago that I kind of sorted this all out. And so, for me, my day is probably not much different than, well, I was going to say the average person, but who knows what the average person really, what really goes through. But, for me, unless I do something really extraordinary and push myself and have a potential flare that I talked about a little earlier, other than that, my day is just go, go, go. And so the support, it's not really needed, if that makes sense, because it's like, my day is kind of like, okay, I'm going to do all these things, and you just go do them and you feel great.
Yeah, no, I totally can resonate what you're sharing, because, every day, every situation is going to be different. And, so even, for folks like us who are sharing our programs and how to, have those coping mechanisms, right? There's never going to be a black and white system for anyone.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
But what is there any other coping mechanisms that we may not have talked about that that you think would be relevant for today's discussion?
Well, I think that's, one of the key things is to really get to know your own body. And that would be, one of the things that I would really encourage people to know your own body of what's normal for you, what's not normal for you, and also know what you can and can't do. Because, even now, sometimes if I'm like pushing way too hard, I will say to my husband, I'm actually just going to go sit for a little bit, because, I've just been going. And I now know that if I just keep going a little bit more, that I could, potentially have a flare up. And so I know how to manage that now, so that so that you don't have to have these, these periods of exhaustion, or, where the pain might come back. And so I think that's a really good point in terms of, how to manage or whatever. Just really know your body. And know when to say no, right? Because we're I think most of us are like, it's not okay to say no. If somebody asks you something, you do it. And if, you just keep doing and you just keep giving, and at some point you just have to figure out, okay, no, today for me, this is, this is where I'm ending it, or things like that.
So are there any I guess, do you have any recommendations as far as like other outreach or supportive communities that these folks can tap into?
There's a really, really great question, Don, because there's a ton of things out there. First of all, you know, it's unfortunate that there's that many communities. So that's the one thing, but it's also fortunate that there's that many communities. So I know that kind of didn't make sense, but it's, it's too bad that so many people are impacted by this. But by virtue of their numbers out there, it shows that there is support, and there's a lot of dialogue that goes on, in terms of what works for individual people that they're sharing. And so I think that's really powerful, because it exposes you to ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of. Right? It's like, oh, okay, well, they do this, or they've tried this, and that's something I haven't tried. And, so maybe that's an opportunity for me. And so, so there are lots and lots of groups out there, whether on Facebook or wherever one might find them, but there's a lot of support out there.
Yeah, and it's not, I would say it's not just for the individual, but as well for the families as well, of which they need the support too.
They do because they become sort of the silent heroes, right?
Yeah.
Because they're picking up the extra, they're doing whatever, and you're right, they need to know what's normal and not normal.
Right.
So that they can support their person, because if something's really going wrong, instead of going, oh, well, that's just part of this, well, it may not be part of it.
Right. Well, and it's not only they being the silent heroes, but they could also be silent suffering as well.
And well, silent suffering, yes. And the interesting part is as well, demographically, thyroid issues previously had predominantly been female oriented. And I could almost in my own family and with friends, and that it seemed to follow through a female line. But what is so interesting is over the last number of years, the number of males who are now getting it. And so, yes, so these people might be silent sufferers in terms of just their doing, but they also might actually have the condition themselves.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did the studies indicate why that there's a rise in male numbers?
There's different theories of why that might be. I don't actually, I wouldn't postulate what it could potentially be. There are some thoughts behind it, but it's just interesting that again, something that was so female driven is really now impacting everybody.
I see. Yeah, interesting. Even with the condition that I have with the GIST tumor, like there's no rhyme or reason of why that even occurred. Hence my reason for not wanting to take the medication, because I'm like, you couldn't even tell me how I got this. So how do I know that this is going to fix it? Not to be stubborn, and that's just my own, my own experience. But yeah, that's how I approached it. I'm like, well, until you can tell me how I got it, I'm not taking anything.
and that's really, a sound decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that's really a sound decision. And I think your point is perfect as well, because if people, if somebody thinks that a particular approach isn't for them, then listen to that and see what other options there are, because there are a ton of options out there.
I think one of the things, though, because we are in a community that we have so many resources at hand, there are some dangers in the information that's out there. So, is there anything that you would kind of just put out there to create some caution when people start doing their own research and their own medical diagnosing?
Absolutely. And again, always do this either with a physician that you have access to, or somebody who really is who has a background in this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a number of functional medicine doctors out there who are
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
brilliant in this. And so you're right. You're right. Always stay connected. Always stay
Yeah.
connected.
All right. Well, this has been great. I've learned a lot from you. And in the next, when we come back from the break, I really want to talk about mindset.
That's perfect. Thanks, Dawn.
You're welcome. Oh,
Age is like a lightning rod. It's energy that's coming in, tremendous energy that's coming in. It's up to every single one of us of what we're going to do with that energy.
Hi, I'd like to personally invite you incredible women, to an event that's happening on May 17th in Hawaii, Women of the World Networking Event. This isn't just another networking event, it's a space for women, leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals to connect, learn, and grow together. Whether you want to expand your business, step onto the stage as a speaker, or showcase your business and your brand, there's an opportunity for you if you're ready to take your connections to the next level. Join us on May 17th, and I'll see you there.
all right, everyone. Welcome back. Dawn here with Sandra. And we have a lot more to talk about, believe it or not. And I really, I'm excited for this section because I really love this. But Sandra and I had a little chit chat yesterday, and she mentioned, the books that's written by Louise Hay. And, we're talking about body-mind connection and how our emotions, affect our organs, our body systems. So let's get into that. And Louise Hay's book is like, it's been around for years, and I only discovered it 3 years ago, and yet it is to today still relevant. And life changing for me when I read it, and it helped me also really deep dive more into emotional healing from an energetic perspective. So body, mind, and spirit mindset, what would you like to share, Sandra, about that?
I think your lead off was perfect, Dawn, because in essence, and you're right with Louise Hay, it was interesting because I do have her book, and the mental picture associated with thyroid is it's never your time. Right? It's like you always feel like you never get to do what you want. Everybody always comes first. And I think that's kind of interesting because it's sort of when you look at how most people operate in a day, how most people go through a day, a lot of tasks are being done for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there's not a lot of other people, if you look at a typical work day in terms of how it's structured, there's very little time time that then is left available for the person. And I thought, oh my goodness, this completely made sense for me. It's like, when is my time? When do I get time? And as well, mindset is very, very important. And the role that stress plays as well, because it can really have an impact if somebody thinks that they're well balanced and have the condition under control. It just takes a little bit of stress. When I talked about having a flare, it can be a physical. It can come about as the result of something physical, but it can also come about as something stressful on the mental emotional plane. And so it's really interesting that all of these things can impact your health and also, take you out of a place where you thought that, everything was fine, and it can destabilize things.
So you yourself came from the corporate environment, and you mentioned about stress, right? I mean, that's something that we cannot get away from when we're in the corporate environment like that. You know, knowing what you know now, and let's say you have not, pivoted and gone down this journey, but you were still in the corporate environment. What advice would you give to yourself if you still stayed in that industry?
Mhm. Yeah, it would really, Dawn, be about understanding the situation and figuring out boundaries if they're needed.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I had one particular position where, in essence, I worked 7 days a week, and I took Friday nights off because Monday to Friday I was already pretty tired, and so Friday night I decided that was my time off.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was in the same position as well. And
Mhm.
I found myself one day having a conversation or a coaching session with a few of my employees, and I just started to bawl for no reason at all. The severity of what they were doing was like nothing, but it was just my own body saying, you need to get out of this environment like now. And I did. I took
Oh,
the
good for
leap,
you.
and I walked away
Yeah.
because I knew this was not healthy for me, and the stress and the insomnia that I dealt with working in a corporate environment. Now, not everyone can do what you and I have done, but it's just good for us to share things that they can do to deal with that. But yeah, I can totally resonate with that.
And it's completely true. And at some point early on, you don't even realize what you're doing, or at least
Mhm,
that was my case. It was just you were going, 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 and
mhm.
hardly even stopping, to exhale,
Oh
and it
yeah.
wasn't, yeah, and so how many of us do that, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's between juggling a job and other responsibilities or other aspects of our lives. But a lot of people just go, go, go until the end of the day, where they just kind of go, whew, made
Mhm.
it through another one. And
Mhm.
this has, my experience has really taught me to just take a very different approach to life. And to really understand, what is going on around me,
Mhm.
and to also uh, make more wise decisions
Mhm.
for myself.
Mhm. Mhm. I would say even when you're at home, so not just when you're at work or in a corporate environment, but the little things like I used to get hung up over, clothes being on the floor, dishes not being washed. And over time I had to learn to like not let those things stress me out because it's okay if it's not done right away. But that was just my upbringing. That's how I was conditioned. But yeah, I've learned to really let those little things go and not get me all wound up for the rest of the day.
Because it really, it's like a basket. It
Yeah.
really is. And at some point you have to figure out, the basket's going to overflow if you don't manage
Uh-huh.
it. And
Yeah.
so what are you allowing in your basket?
Yeah.
And I think that's what people just have to get really smart about, but smart in
Mhm.
a personal way, because
Right.
what works for one person would be completely different potentially for someone else. So it's just about figuring, okay, I have a basket, and what am I going to do with it?
Right, right, right. So let's talk a little bit more about emotions. Was there any particular time that you can remember where no matter what you knew or how to cope with yourself, you were just beside yourself and just, you know,
I
just
think that's a
wouldn't know?
yeah, that's a really fair question. And I think that was earlier on, prior to me completely sorting things out on the
Mm,
Hashimoto's end. So
mhm.
while I was still sort of going in my circles and my trial and error periods, and things would work and things wouldn't work, and there would be a step forward, but maybe a couple of steps backwards. There would be a lot less elasticity in my elastic then,
Mm,
because everything was already at some level of seemingly, being overwhelming. Um,
mhm,
and once things changed, however, right, once the physical part was under control, and the mental part, because it really changes your whole mindset, when you're no longer struggling to get through a day, and when your body feels really good.
mhm,
Mindset is so different than waking up going, okay, what's hurting today? And, I
mhm,
have clarity today, and, what's going to impact me. It's a completely different shift. And
mhm,
I really encourage, anyone listening that is impacted by this, or has a family member or friend who's impacted by this, to really know that there are options out there, and to encourage them. you know,
mhm,
See where the options are, and they may not necessarily be in the allopathic, in the regular medical setting.
mhm.
You may not necessarily find your answers there, but there's a zillion answers out there of people who are doing things in different ways, and having huge impacts. And so it's just, it's really so worth exploring, because it really can change your life in, again, in ways you really thought were no longer possible.
Mhm. Right. It's finding strength in your vulnerability. Right.
Absolutely.
And really learning, I guess, to put yourself first. So, let I would love for you to share, like, like this, say you're talking to me, like, tell me, why should I put myself first?
And that's because we're all taught, we put other people first, and we do things for
Mhm.
others. And I think I think the best argument is almost what they tell you on an airplane, when you need oxygen. It's like, it's not that you're being selfish, but put your
Mhm.
oxygen on first, then you can
Right.
help people around you. Right?
Right.
Get that
Yeah.
oxygen on.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the best way to frame this. It's like, when you are feeling great, and when you're happy to wake up in the morning, and you can't wait to get started,
Mhm.
um, everyone else benefits by that, because then they're around somebody who's positive, and who can give. Because
Yeah.
giving is no longer seen as like, oh my goodness, okay, if I give, then like, I'm at my end already. So if I do this, I'm like way at my end. You can give, and you don't give a second thought to it, because it's
Mhm.
not taking anything from you. If anything, it's making you happy and excited that you're able to do for other people, and you're able to give to other people. So your frame changes completely.
Mhm.
It's something you want to do.
Yeah, isn't it funny how that one analogy can apply to everything that we do in life? Put your own oxygen mask first.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I've really enjoyed my time with you today.
Oh, thank you, Dawn.
We
It's lovely. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And I do, want to end this. We have this tradition where we're going to ask you some funky question.
Absolutely.
And then I know you're like, oh no, what's it gonna be? It'll be. I'm gonna. So if your aura walked into the room, what would your theme song be?
Okay. Well, so I'm thinking of a bright, shiny aura, expansive aura,
Uh-huh.
and so let's. Oh, maybe the Monkees song, "I'm a Believer."
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Absolutely, I'm a believer, and I think that can apply to absolutely any part of life. If you believe that there are options out there for you, and if you believe that there's another way to live or to be and to experience life and health, yeah, I'm
Hmm.
a believer. That's
Awesome.
that's a great question, Dawn. Thanks for going easy on me. I was trying to think, oh my goodness, what possibly could you ask?
I know. I don't like those surprise questions either. I'm like, uh-oh. It depends on my day. It's like I can either wing it or I can't.
No, I loved that. That was
You,
perfect.
you did great. You did really, really great. Let's see. So to kind of wrap it up, is there any, big projects that's coming up for you or that you're working on that we should know about?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of just in terms of the offerings that I do have in terms of changing lifestyle, dietary things and mindset. I do have a program that in essence kind of follows what I did because it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. And what it does is it just it saves people. Again, I took years to do this. I really hope no one else ever has to go years to try to figure it out, because you don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take that long. The body is resilient. The body wants to heal. The body wants to be in homeostasis. The body
Mm-hmm.
wants all of those things. You just have to give it that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the role that I help play.
Yeah.
I help give people's bodies the opportunity to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay open-minded, everyone. Keep your options open, explore, try it out because you never know, right? You never know, but we have to put ourselves forward and find the right solutions for us. So thank you again, Sandra. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Dawn, thank you so much. And quick question for you. If
Yes.
your aura walked into the room, what beautiful song would be playing for you?
Oh, shameless to say, it would be from the Pussycat Dolls. It's called When I Grow Up because I'm never gonna grow up. You have to listen to it.
That's
It's very
perfect.
funky. I know. It's like it's my theme song. I listen to it every single day. Shameless to say, but I love it because it's the beat, right? So it's about sound healing. It picks me up.
Mhm.
It reminds me that I don't have to grow up. And like it's my childlike self is the one that gets me going and feel motivated every single day. It's the adult self that I want to get rid of.
And that's beautiful because you're right. When we're children, everything is playful and light.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, totally. And one of my go-tos as well to just get myself feeling like a child again is getting on a trampoline or even riding a bicycle because I don't do that often.
right.
And it's just like it just takes me right back to age 5. I'm like, yeah.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. And actually with, Mother's Day coming up, and
Mm-hmm.
we just wish everyone a happy Mother's Day, if
Absolutely.
whether you've got two-legged children, four-legged children, or any combination of
Right.
that.
Honor all mother figures in any which way or form as it comes up. And, just especially tune into our May newsletter. That's going to be our theme. So check it out on the Chronic Health Collective. Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks, Dawn. Take
You're
care.
welcome. You too.
Thank you.
All right. So let's see. Um, is there anything else we need to cover? Let's see. Not sure. I think I cut myself off too early. No, I'm just
Well, the next upcoming show.
Yeah, the next upcoming show, I forget who's featured. I'm so bad. I'm so sorry. Let's see. I don't remember. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, it is the next. Oh, okay. So the next upcoming show is going to be the big surprise. So I've been told.
There you go. We've both been surprised.
I know. So sorry, y'all. This is very impromptu right now. But that's what we have to do, is we have to learn to be flexible and just go with the flow. And yeah, and just laugh. All right. So, and if today's discussion resonated with you, remember you don't have to navigate through this journey alone. You can book a complimentary consultation with any of our coaches on our website, chronichealthcollective.com, to get personalized support that you need. So be sure to sign up for our monthly magazine at the Chronic Health Collective, where all 13 of our coaches share individual tips to elevate your life in every way. So join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. CST for more transformative insights to help you up-level every aspect of your health and life. If you missed any episode, don't worry. You can catch that anytime at watch.e360tv.com on the Vitality TV network, or on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/at Chronic Health Collective. Until next time, stay healthy, stay inspired, and as always, live your chronically healthy life. Aloha.